Welcome back. Today we have a really fascinating explainer lineup for you. We're unpacking a source text called The Ancient Path to Wealth and Wisdom. Now, whether you consider yourself a total financial novice or a seasoned investor, what the authors do here is pretty incredible. They take these thousands of years old biblical principles and frame them as a super practical guide for navigating the absolute pressure cooker of our modern financial world.
To really get why this text hits so hard, we kind of have to start with the emotional realities so many of us are facing right now. I mean, let's be honest, modern life can feel like you're constantly trying to keep your head above water. Between climbing rents, inflation, and this endless push of consumerism to just buy. So many millennials and families today are feeling a deep, suffocating financial anxiety. It pushes you to a breaking point where you just look up and ask, okay, God, is there a better way to do this?
The material actually illustrates this beautifully through the story of a guy named Marcus. So picture this. He's 32 years old, sitting at his kitchen table at like 2 a.m. He works incredibly hard, but he's just completely drowning in the modern trap. He's staring at this mountain of credit card debt, a steep car loan, and a savings account that is, well, literally empty. It feels like a treadmill he just can't get off of. Like a lot of us, Marcus is looking for a timeless solution to a very modern crisis.
And the answer this text provides comes from a pretty surprising metric, 2,300. That is the number of times money is mentioned in the Bible. Now, the authors point out that this isn't because ancient scriptures are obsessed with getting rich. Not at all. It's because money so deeply affects human destiny, our daily anxiety, and honestly, our relationships. It's an issue of the heart just as much as the wallet.
Section 1. The Stewardship Mindset. It all belongs to Him.
Okay, let's dive into this. To start, the source outlines this complete shift in how we view our bank accounts, moving away from ownership to stewardship. It shares this really interesting mini-story of an ancient Persian merchant named Artaxerxes. This guy owned vast vineyards, but he never actually touched a single grape himself. Instead, he had stewards manage them. The good steward, Eliakim, knew the vineyard wasn't his, right? So he managed it faithfully and was promoted. The bad steward acted like he owned the place, embezzled, and, well, he got fired. In our modern world, we tend to tie our entire identity to our net worth, which just makes us anxious and territorial. That's the owner mindset. But adopting the steward mindset, knowing you are just managing these resources, actually makes you calm, responsible, and surprisingly generous.
This specific verse establishes the foundational framework for the whole text. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. According to the source, when you truly internalize that everything actually belongs to a higher power, your house, your paycheck, your skills, the whole shebang, you are immediately freed from the crushing anxiety of ownership. Your job isn't to frantically hoard. Your job is simply to faithfully manage.
Section 2. Escaping the borrower's chains. Now, managing resources well requires a solid defensive strategy, which brings us to the biggest modern trap. The source illustrates this with the parable of Jonathan, a merchant's son who wanted to grow his father's business super fast, so he borrowed heavily from moneylenders. Well, when a storm wiped out his ships, the lenders came and took his warehouses, his home, and his dignity. Translate that to today's crisis: crippling student loans, buy now, pay later schemes, maxed out credit cards. The authors make it crystal clear: debt isn't just a math problem, it's literally a state of bondage. It restricts your decisions, stops you from taking good risks, from being generous, and ultimately from finding true freedom.
The warning in the source text is incredibly urgent. Owe no man anything. While it acknowledges that not all debt is inherently a sin, like a sensible mortgage is one thing, consumer debt absolutely steals your freedom. So the text outlines that your very first financial priority isn't to jump in and start playing the stock market. No. It is to build a small emergency fund and aggressively attack those debt balances to escape those chains.
Section 3. Diligence, patience, and planning.
Once those debt chains are broken, the source contrasts our modern get-rich-quick schemes with slow, steady growth. It gives us the contrast of two farmers. The hasty farmer wants his grapes today. He's constantly uprooting his vines to check the roots, chasing shortcuts, and, surprise, surprise, ends up with nothing. The patient farmer, though, he waters, prunes, waits for years, and eventually builds this incredible generational vineyard. Think about our modern culture of overnight crypto millionaires and viral success stories. The authors argue that mindset is a total trap. True wealth is built by the patient farmer, or as the guide also notes, the diligent ant who just works hard, shows up every single day, and lets compound effort do the heavy lifting.
And this brilliantly illustrates the exact point made in Proverbs 21. The thoughts of the diligent tend only to plenteousness, but of every one that is hasty only to want.
The argument here is that wealth built little by little is what actually stands the test of time. A person who steadily invests just a tiny amount every month starting in their 20s is going to vastly outpace someone who chases a massive, hasty windfall later in life.
And a huge part of that diligent patience is planning. The source brings up this famous story of a man building a tower. Before he lays even a single stone, he sits down to count the cost, just to ensure he can actually finish it. The lesson here is profound for us today. Creating a budget, buying insurance, or drafting a will is not a lack of faith. Actually, according to this guide, planning is faith expressed through practical wisdom.
Section 4. The Wisdom of Investing. This moves us right into the proactive growth phase, where the source material actively mandates investing through the famous parable of the talents. So a master gives his servants different amounts of money called talents. The first two servants take calculated risks, invest the money, and double it. The master is thrilled. But the third servant? He's terrified. He takes his one talent and literally buries it in the dirt to keep it safe. The master is furious. The big takeaway here is that fear, laziness, and playing it safe by hiding your money under a mattress or, in a zero-interest checking account losing to inflation is considered a sin of omission. Productive, calculated risk is biblically rewarded.
So how does this translate into an actual investment strategy? The source shares the story of Silas the trader. Instead of putting all his cargo on one highly profitable route to India, he sent ships to Egypt, Phoenicia, Greece, and Cyprus. When a monsoon sank one ship, he was still totally fine. Thousands of years before modern portfolio theory was even a thing, this ancient wisdom advised spreading investments across 7 or 8 ventures. Why? Because the future is unpredictable. You absolutely must diversify across different asset classes.
Section 5. Generosity and True Wealth. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that to fully grasp this ancient path, we have to redefine what it actually means to have enough. Consider the phrase, "Godliness with contentment is great gain." Our modern consumerism is literally engineered to make you feel discontent, to tell you that you constantly need the next big upgrade. The source counters this with radical contentment. It argues that money itself isn't evil, but the love of money is. Contentment is the ultimate foundation. It means your inner peace doesn't depend on your net worth. And that contentment allows for the principle of the cornucopia heart. The material details this totally counterintuitive principle. Giving freely actually increases your wealth. Giving, starting with a tithe or just a regular percentage of your income, forces intentionality. It actively disciplines your spending and breaks the emotional grip of greed. The authors propose that those who give regularly actually end up managing their money so much better than those who just hoard it.
Section 6. Escaping the Gap. Marcus's turnaround. Let's bring this narrative full circle. Remember Marcus from earlier, sitting at his kitchen table at 2 a.m., just drowning in debt and anxiety? Well, the source provides a real-world turnaround. Marcus didn't get rich overnight, but he followed a roadmap to apply these ancient principles. Step 1, he changed his mindset, acknowledging he was a steward, not an owner. Step 2, he actually counted the cost and made a budget. Step 3, he aggressively cut unnecessary expenses to escape the borrower's chains. Step 4, he started giving, even just a little, to break the hold of consumerism. And Step 5, he saved and then began patiently investing. Within 3 to 5 years, Marcus went from deep debt to having investments actively working for him, a real game changer. So, the crucial point is that this all boils down to 8 fundamental takeaways for us to apply. Be a steward. Actively multiply your resources. Work patiently, little by little. Flee from consumer debt. Diversify your investments against disaster. Cultivate radical contentment. Give with an open hand. And always, always plan ahead to leave a legacy.
To conclude this summary, the source leaves us with this powerful verse. The blessing of the Lord, it maketh rich, and he addeth no sorrow with it. This explainer shows that the path to true wealth isn't a hasty sprint or some crypto gamble. It's a long marathon of faithfulness. And when it's built this way, it's wealth that brings peace, adding no sorrow to your life.
Which leaves us with one final, deeply provocative question from the text to reflect on today. Take a look at your own life, your bank accounts, your stress levels. Are you using your wealth to serve a higher purpose? Or is your wealth, and the pursuit of it, using you? It's a question that might just inspire you to totally reevaluate your financial path today. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.